What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the trading world. Today is July 10th, 2025. And guys, I am very excited to make this market recap because today was one of my best trading days I have had in a long time. If you count the final take profit as the final RR at the end of the trade, it was like a 3 point something RR trade. Absolutely beautiful. All my take profits got hit. And I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how I did it and as well how I was so precise with it because I got a really good entry and all my take profits were incredibly precise as well. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to take a look at trades in general. We're going to talk about price action in general for the day. And yeah, hopefully this should be a pretty interesting video. So with that, let's jump right into it. So first of all, I want to show you guys this trade for real. This was live this morning. And I want to show you specifically, look at how precise these take profits were. I was genuinely, I was impressed with myself because this is like perfect sniper entry. You can see TP1, instant reaction, TP2, instant reaction. And you can see here.
That's how final TP hit. That was.
All of them got hit. And guys, I tweeted this on Twitter today. And here's the full trade. Well, this was basically a flow state where we have a 15-minute, there's a 15-minute gap. Actually, it was overlapping bullish and bearish for value gaps. So it was a BPR. We get SMT with this high. We also get a sweep of this high, meaning we pop above it and then we aggressively move back down. So to show you exactly how this would work, I'm going to pull up the lower time frame trade if I can find it. I actually can't find it right at this exact moment, but this was the trade, right? But I think I know. It's called a 15-minute. Yeah, this is what I called it. So you can see this 15-minute BPR is this overlapping bullish gap and bearish gap. These overlapping gaps are key levels. So you can draw this out with a giant rectangle, drag this over. Note how it's in premium of this range from low to high. We ended up getting SMT on both of these with this high and with this high. So double SMTs, stacked SMTs. So that's when S&P makes a lower high and NASDAQ makes a higher high or vice versa. Or with lows, right? And so anyway, on the lower time frame, we aggressively displace lower and we get a 1-minute close below this down close candle, marking this as a change in state of delivery. So when you have a 15-minute key level, you want to have a 1-minute change in state of delivery. So 1-minute candle body close below an old down candle. And when we retest it, that's your entry point. So you can see we retest that. And then boom, all TPs hit. And guys, look at how perfectly I hit these TPs. And I'm going to show you exactly how I did that. It's kind of actually insane. I'm super proud of myself for doing it. But jumping down into the actual charts here, essentially my thought process was, once again, this was a change state delivery. And it's also worth noting that not only is this change state delivery, but it's a breaker and a fair value gap. And I figured a lot of people on Twitter were going to take it like this today because you have a series of down close candles before the move up that takes out this high. That makes this a breaker block. This is overlapped with a fair value gap. Now, specifically, I would use this as a 1-minute breaker and a 1-minute gap. So if I actually have this marked out here. Specifically, I would use this as the 1-minute breaker and the 1-minute gap because we actually go retest that. But this one, he just enters when we close below it and validate it as a breaker. And so this is, a fair value gap here, series of down close candles, which is the breaker here. And I figured a lot of people were going to take it like this. And once we get that retest of that breaker, we aggressively dump lower. And you can see Hydra takes this exact same thing. Tighter stop like I did because I had an additional confidence. I'm going to go over that in just a second. And another person taking this exact same trade. So a lot of people took this trade where we got that close below the breaker, and then right after market open we retest that fair value gap. It's also cool to note that this was a 2022 model, so on a lower time frame, we sweep out this high on the 1 minute, we break lower. Now I would actually consider this a break of structure because, well, one, we actually do break structure here, but two, we have very good displacement, and there's a tiny gap here, but also there's a gap here, so you can put stop loss above both. And this is a 1 minute 2022 model, and then as well, it's a 2 minute 2022 model. A little bit more obvious in the 2 minute, a little bit more obvious break of structure, and a little bit more obvious for value gap. But once again, sweep of the high with S&T, we break this low, retest this fair value gap, and we deliver to London and PM. So entry on the fair value gap, stop either above the gap or at probably the high of this candle body here, and then you could go target London and PM's lows. Now, like I was saying, that kind of distracted me. I kind of lost my train of thought. Oh, how did I catch those TPs so perfectly? So guys, this is where it was like common sense mixed with the fact that the market actually just like listened to common sense. Like, I'm going to show you it actually makes a lot of sense why I took profit exactly where I did. I'll show you exactly why. So once again, 1 minute change state delivery. So there's my entry when we retest that, because that's one of my models is flow state. So once again, we had that 15-minute BPR I showed you. And 15-minute BPR, sweep, S&T, and then change state. So, how did I take profit? Well, my first take profit was logically, this is right here. This is the end of this. Essentially, all these low resistance lows kind of end right here. You see how this is kind of the end of all that? So this is just a very logical spot to take profit, right? All these low resistance lows end here. This is a giant swing low, and I don't really ever take profit at wicks. I always take profit at bodies or in the middle of the bodies, because you'll realize that if you don't do that, you will miss getting filled a lot. Like, look, if you take profit at the wick, you're not going to get filled. So that's why I did it at the end of the bodies. And you can see that that was my TP1, and that was very, very precise. That's exactly where TP1 got filled for me. Then for TP2, essentially I wanted to take profit at London's lows. Oh, first, before I go into that, the other reason that I had conviction to put the stop loss here and not at the normal place for flow state, because normally with flow state, you put your stop loss at the high. But as you can see from Hydra here, sometimes if it's a breaker and a fair value gap, which it was, you can put your stop loss above the high of the breaker. And so I knew it was a breaker and a fair value gap. I took it as a flow state, but with conceptually understanding like this is a breaker and fair value gap, so stop above the breaker makes perfect sense here. But the main reason I liked stop above the breaker, not above the high, is because look at how perfectly we were overlapped with this new day opening gap. So if you guys don't have this indicator, I definitely recommend getting it. It's going to basically put the last 5 new day opening gaps on your chart. So it's ICT, NDOG, and EHPDA. But the change day delivery overlaps with this perfectly. And anytime I see one of these overlap perfectly with the change in state, or like one of my entries, I give that way higher probability that's going to have a reaction. And you can see that's exactly where we reacted. And so that's why I have this marked out as new day opening gap here, because that new day opening gap and that change day delivery both held price. Okay, then how did I do my TP2? Well, I was thinking, okay, I want to go target London's lows. And I was originally targeting London's lows, but then I was like, well, what's the difference between the end of this consolidation here and London's lows? Wouldn't I rather just be safe and just take profit in this consolidation? So that's what I did, right? I just said, I'm going to target the middle of this consolidation and kind of just say, who cares whether or not we go to London's lows? I'm going to take profit here. And you can see that was, once again, another logical place. And that's exactly where the market went to. So, like, I really love taking profit in the middle of, like, giant consolidations. Because that's where people are going to get stopped out, right? It's just common sense. So, once again, TP2 gets hit perfectly. TP1 gets hit perfectly. That's how I caught the first two. And then the logic with the third one is the same thing. I was essentially just targeting PM's lows. Another session low. But once again, the consolidation kind of ends over here, so I'm like, well, I'd rather just take profit at the end of these bodies here. I think this is around where I took profit. If I drag this over, yep, and you can see once again that was my final take profit, and that's exactly the logic that I took to take this entire trade. Once again, I took this for real, live. Very proud of myself for this. Yo, I got a sub. That's it. Wait, unless it's delayed. I hope I did. Anyway, yeah. Like I said, caught this live. Very, very cool trade. Look at me enter here. You can see me at the very beginning entering, placing that limit order. There we go. For the longest time I was like, dude, I really hate how slow this is moving. But then finally, we start to move, and you can see I have those take profits.
That's when we hit this first take profit.
So yeah, very happy about that. I didn't see a ton on Twitter, so normally I go over other trades on Twitter, but I'm not seeing a ton. So I'm just going to talk more about the day. So, yeah, for whoever's made it this far, I got some cool stuff to talk about today. Not a lot of trades, but just observations about the market. Because after we get our move lower here, there's really not a ton of opportunity. In my opinion, like, I try and only trade price action that makes sense to me. Here we're just kind of chopping around after we've already had expansion. For me, there wasn't a lot of opportunity in here. Besides, I will briefly cover just one other trade within there. There was something I observed in here where it was like, we had a 5-minute gap that formed. Accumulation, manipulation, swept out that low, 30-second change of state. We go up to the fourth, but nothing like beautiful, right? I didn't really care about that. I just noticed it. But like I said, nothing crazy in here. Sure, maybe you take this inversion, but I probably wouldn't. Yeah. So most of today is just gonna be cool observations I noticed about the market, and guys, there's a lot of cool stuff. Specifically, I was watching a video about how you can measure out not just the manipulation, the manipulation move here. So this manipulation move, we go to that second standard deviation, right? And as well, you can see later on, we hit this fourth standard deviation perfectly, which is pretty cool. Check that out. Later on, we hit that. But not only this, not only will we respect the standard deviations of the actual manipulation leg that takes liquidity, but we'll also respect standard deviations of measuring the breaker. This is the first time I've ever mentioned this on my channel. And guys, this is crazy. This is crazy. From body to body, go exactly 1, 2, 3, 4. Once again, look at how perfectly the market's respecting these. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On the dot. Perfectly. 8th standard deviation hit. That is precise, dude. That is very, very precise. And so you can see I screenshotted this because I just thought it was so cool. Like, measured this out right down to 8. And so I personally, I know no one's ever really talked about that before, but just an observation about the market. Like, yo, if you want to be extremely precise, you can use standard deviations of these breakers. And dude, it's just kind of cool. Something I noticed. Maybe not everyone's going to use that. You don't need to. But just something cool that I noticed that I wanted to talk about. Oh, there was another trade from Sotep. I'll briefly pull it up. It's just really short. He didn't actually take it, but I just want to, mention it because I don't want to be have tunnel vision and only talk about my trades. But yeah, we inverse this gap here after we have that S&T. The problem is, I personally wouldn't take this because you're entering kind of little. If it'll load, I can probably explain it better. Anyway, you don't really get a good entry. There's no. See, he says it very nicely. Was too late to chase. End of the day, break even. Like I wouldn't take this inversion unless it was on the lower time frame and there was just an obvious close, and there wasn't. But I just wanted to talk about someone else's trade because it's important not to get tunnel vision. Okay. Wait. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, two other things. One, we did get a giant S&T with previous week's high, and once again, these S&Ts with previous day's high and previous week's high, super high probability S&Ts. So very, very cool. And then you can see as well that we end up not only getting previous week's highs, SMT with previous week's high, but we also get a 4-hour CRT, which helps give you bias to go target this 4-hour CRT low. So look how perfectly we hit sell side here, from the high to the low. So that could help you get you bias. Okay, but lastly, guys, if you made it to the end of this video, you deserve to know. I know I'm trying not to talk about this in too many videos, but it happened again. It happened again. Enigma worked perfectly again. And so I just feel like I have to talk about it. I'm going to keep it at the end of the video because, only people who make it to the end probably deserve to even know this stuff. But guys, this was absurd. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in depth for anyone who's made it to the end of this video. You want to get this indicator. It's called Gold Block DMN. And 243, I like the 243 a lot. This is just the size of how big you want the dealing range to be. But this is the dealing range that the 2022 models are going to work within, right? So I just click show. And it's going to show whatever current dealing range it's in. The red line at the top is going to be the high of the 2022 model. The red line at the bottom is going to be the low of the 2022 model. And it's just where the 2022 model is going to form. So the 243 dealing range is going to work really well with the 5-minute. So we sweep. So once again, just to recap, this was a 2022 model. Specifically on the 5-minute, it was nice because we sweep this high. Actually, I'm going to show it on the 2-minute, but it works on the 5-minute as well. Sweep this high, break this low, and then where does this fair value gap form? In our dealing range. If I go back to that 243, you can see this fair value gap forms perfectly, exactly where it's supposed to. Exactly where it's supposed to, in the fair value gap zone of the dealing range. So what does that mean? That means this 2022 model is now targeting the low of the dealing range and all of these sell side lows here. That's what that means. So when you have a 2022 model on one side of the dealing range and the fair value gap perfectly forms in the fair value gap zone, it means you're going to target the other side of the range. So first, we hit the second standard deviation. So this already goes second standard deviation and third standard deviation. But later on, we come back to it and we finish the job going to the other side of the dealing range, and crazy enough, it's aligned with the fourth standard deviation. So this is just absurd that I've realized this, figured it out. But yeah, these 2022 models, they're definitely running on these hidden levels in the market. Clearly, I mean, high of the dealing range, low of the dealing range, fair value gap forms in the fair value gap zone. It's just too precise, dude. It's too precise, and I just wanted to show whoever's watching it at the end here that, you know, these are really happening within these dealing ranges. So yeah, if you liked this video, let me know. Like I said, I'm probably gonna make one short form video about this, and then I'm probably not gonna talk about it again on short form videos anymore. Maybe in long form videos I'll talk about it at the end, but man, it is fascinating stuff. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.